Hello, everyone.
Welcome to the Tiff Jack Show, a podcast devoted to helping you dump the overwhelm and live the happy.
I love that.
Me too.
Every time.
This is episode 12. Good relationships create healthy, happy lives.
Which is dang
Which
true.
is what we're all looking for, a healthy, happy life.
Yes.
And good relationships.
Yeah, I think good relationships for a lot of people might even take precedence over healthy, happy lives.
Well, what we're going to learn as we go deeper into today's discussion is how relationships and healthy connective relationships lend to some amazing benefits in your life. And we'll get into that in just a minute. But first, we need to talk about this amazing Mother's Day.
Yes, we are recording this on Mother's Day.
What an amazing day to record it on.
And let me tell you, we wouldn't be recording this if it wasn't so delightful to record because it is Mother's Day.
Right? We're sitting here. I've got my glass of wine. I got my coffee. We're surrounded by...
I know. Who do you know that drinks wine and coffee
all
at the same time? Do you drink your wine first and then your coffee, or do you just
both?
intermix?
I trade off.
Do you really?
Oh, not all the time.
I guess I just haven't paid attention.
It's not like if I have a cup of coffee, I have to have a cup of wine, a glass of wine next to me. That's not how it works. But we're surrounded by presents, some really amazing things. We had an amazing Mother's Day. Tiff said that this has been the best Mother's Day she's ever had, which always makes my heart very happy because I take it very personally how her Mother's Day goes.
Yeah, you've been working your rump off.
And today was an epic day. It was. I was up until 4:30 a.m. this morning.
Which the fact that you could even stay awake to do what you
blew
did.
your mind. And
blew my mind.
But if I put my mind to something, there's no stopping me.
Well, then,
don't you forget that.
Okay, well, let me tell you this. If that is true, then I expect you to stay up and watch movies with me.
Whatever, lady.
For the rest of your life.
We have this ongoing depressive conversation.
It's not depressive.
Not to you. About my inability to stay awake for movies. And I do believe it's a genetic tendency. I haven't uncovered the gene that creates this, but I can tell you that some of the children that I gave birth to, they also fall asleep during movies. She's rolling her eyes. She's rolling her eyes and shaking her head. We should get this on video so they can see the abuse I live with on a constant basis.
I am so abusive.
It's super sexy.
Oh,
I like your
obviously
abuse.
You are drinking
wine. Oh, I've had one sip.
Let's
be real. I'm always this nasty person.
So this morning I woke up at 4:30, which is pretty typical. I didn't go to bed until about 12:30. So sleeping for my 4 hours is pretty normal. I wake up to a text that says, "These loving things from Jack." And then there's a YouTube video that says, "A mother's love." And I push play. I come downstairs and I sit on the couch and I push play. And Jack had put a video message on there about how much he appreciates me being the mother of our children. And then he got all 10 of our kids to share the things that they loved about me. I sobbed. Okay. It was amazing.
It was so much fun. I love our kids. We love our kids. And it took some real rounding up to get them to do this. It's like herding cows a little. Like sometimes one gets out and you have to run and chase it down and make it get back in with the rest. But it took a little bit, but they all had so many wonderful things to say about you. And I really my heart is so big for you and for our kids. And more than anything, I wanted you to have the experience to feel their love, for them to take a few minutes to do a video with their face talking to you about their love for you. And you are an incredible mother. You have such a loving heart.
Thank you.
And I am very, very grateful. So it was an adventure making a movie on iMovie. It was super fun.
I was so impressed.
I was up so late.
I'm usually the one that does all the iMovie stuff. So when I saw that, I was so impressed. And I probably watched it 6 times this morning. Then I sent a little love note to each one of our kids. And our youngest daughter was in New York in a high-rise hotel, just got done watching
Phantom of the Opera.
And soon-to-be daughter-in-law was in France sending her message. and all of our other kids. I just was pretty amazed with the love that was offered me this morning.
So much love.
It was amazing. And
Their
then
videos made me cry.
And then all the kids came here for brunch.
Oh, that was the other part of Mother's Day. So we had presents and flowers, and I had all the kids come, and we did a potluck because Tiff is on her
cleanse.
17-week cleanse, what she's doing. And so she eats very specific foods. And so I had all the kids bring potluck. I cooked up the bacon and the sausage, and everyone brought eggs and potatoes
and
fruit.
mimosas.
We had mimosas and
Yes.
drank orange juice. It was so delightful.
And Jack made me, for the first time he's ever made a steak, he made me a New
Right.
York steak. It was effing awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It was so
That's
good.
right. That's right.
I was impressed.
I'm so glad.
Thank
Tip is
you.
the one always making the food, and I am so grateful for that.
Like,
one time a year
I-
is enough for me.
It's funny
And
because
I'm
I'm
happy
like,
to
I
do
don't
it
even
one
know
time a year.
what to do when Jack's doing that. So I straightened my hair today.
Oh, you look so gorgeous. You're putting on your makeup. I love your makeup today.
Thank you.
So sexy.
Thank you.
Too bad everyone can't see it. So sexy.
Well, it's a little worn off now.
Nah. It's great.
If you'd stop kissing my face off, I
I
might
know,
be
I
able to
can't
wear
help
it longer.
It's been such a good day.
Yeah,
It's been such a good day.
I told Jack, I said, I don't know if I can do this podcast right now because I just want to laugh and dance.
I said, well, then do it on the podcast.
So I'm going to laugh and dance. So if I sound like I'm dancing, I am. Just kidding. Jeez.
It was fun.
Yeah.
We sat around outside and talked with most of our kids, and
Uh-huh.
the temperature is beautiful. It's a beautiful day. Everything's green and lush and delicious.
Yes.
Life is pretty delicious.
Yeah, we
today.
have a lot to look forward to. Next Saturday, we're having a big party.
It is the month of parties.
And then the next Sunday,
The son's
one of
getting
our
married.
son is getting married here
Here.
under our apple tree.
oh, it'll be nice.
Yeah, it's just it. And our soon-to-be daughter-in-law is flying in from France, and we'll be
Oh,
here
boy.
in 5 hours. So we are so excited.
Yeah,
Yes.
we are.
So it's just been a delightful day.
It really has.
And I was just thinking, when we get on our podcast, we always talk about things that are going on in our life. And something that maybe some people don't know about me is that I really have a ton of joy in finding really good series on Netflix or HBO or Showtime.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
And to binge watch them when I have time, which is usually at like 6 a.m. I'll watch a few episodes, or late at night if I can't sleep. And I just have so much joy in doing that. And that's something I just owned the other day. I'm like, I really enjoy this. Like, it brings a lot of joy into my life.
And I'll tell you how much joy. I get a text. I was working at FedEx early one morning, and Tiff goes, I am sitting here sobbing. I just finished the last episode of the last season of Weeds, and I am sobbing. I'm so ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, honey, you are not ridiculous. And I said, why are you sobbing? And I would love for you to explain what you got out of Weeds. Because when she explained, like, watching that series, how it inspired her, it was amazing for me to hear that. It really was. How you watched, do you remember what you said?
Yes. I mean, not verbatim, but
no,
yes.
but share. I think it's
Well,
really profound.
the whole series is about a woman named Nancy that her husband dies of a heart attack, and she has to support her family. And she does it by selling marijuana. And it's her journey in living this life of selling marijuana and coming into the truth of herself. And there were 8 seasons. And I just watched it, and I really enjoyed watching all of the nuances of her life and raising her children and selling her weed. And,
of all things.
and, she was mixed up in so many traumatic experiences. She was doing all these illegal things, and she was just doing the best she could with what she understood at the time. And you know what? The last episode, when she's sitting on the steps with her sons and her brother-in-law, I just sat there and I thought, everyone has a story. I literally cried. Like, I love that about so ridiculous.
I love that.
about
No,
it.
I think it's beautiful.
But I just thought we all have a story, and it doesn't mean that we're living lives that other people deem as acceptable or not acceptable. It doesn't really matter. But through the events of life, we come into the truth of ourselves. And at the very end of the show, her kids are raised. She's not in a relationship, and she has to take a look in the mirror and create a new life. She created a business and she sold it for a large sum of money, and all she was left with is wealth and herself.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
And what she was going to create.
And so she just gets to think, okay, now what?
Yeah.
And this is the life of all of us. We go through all these transitions and changes and swirls and twists and turns. And I just think life is such an extraordinary, beautiful, creative experience. And I loved the show, and I cried, and I was pretty sad that it was over.
That's adorable.
And now I'm watching Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Which everyone's
it's an old
already
series,
watched.
I know, but we haven't
Well,
seen
it's not old because I think it's still going.
Oh.
But yeah.
Well, something fun that you might want to try that Tiff and I do all the time is when you watch a movie or a series or whatever you're watching, a show, who do you identify with?
Yes.
Who did you identify with, Tiff?
Definitely Nancy.
Really?
Yes.
I would guess that.
Yeah.
But yeah, who do you identify with?
She
if you're
was
watching,
the most unique person.
Yeah.
She had her own style of sexy, and everyone just talked smack about her, but she did what she wanted anyway. And she was the bravest person ever.
That's so
and
cool.
I just loved it.
That's
I
like-
absolutely loved it. I could go on another hour about it, but
Mhm.
it's one of the joyful things we do. But
Yeah.
I do want to share something dang hilarious. Speaking of shows and movies. Okay, so if you're born in the 70s or the 60s or even the 80s, you would have probably heard of the show called Chips. It's two police officers, Ponch and John.
in LA, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
On motorcycles.
On
Motorcycle
motorcycles.
cops.
And they were just so awesome. Back in the day, Chips was so cool, the show. And the other day, honey, this just made me laugh so
It's
much.
ridiculous.
This is how cute you are. We're driving.
This is one of my quirks.
Okay, we're driving on the road, and there's two police officers on their bikes. And what did you say?
I said, look, it's Chips and Ponch.
And I said, no, honey, that's Ponch
Ponch
and
and
John
John.
from Chips. And this is how Jack is with,
I'm always off just
yeah,
by
he
one
thinks
name
every
or word.
blonde actress is Claire
Claire
Danes,
Danes.
and every man actor is Billy
Billy
Bob Thornton.
Thornton.
You're like, is that Billy Bob
I
Thornton?
seriously, when it comes to movies and actors, nope, clueless.
There's Claire
Oh,
Danes.
it's Claire Danes.
Oh,
Isn't that
that's
Claire
Claire
Danes?
Danes. It's just pretty funny.
funny.
Jack is very funny.
It's one of
about
my
it.
quirks.
And because I've heard him ask, I don't know how many times if someone's Claire Danes. Now I just start laughing. Yeah.
It's funny.
So anyway.
Speaking of awesome movies, we did just watch Hacksaw Ridge.
Oh yeah.
That was profound.
That was an amazing movie.
Based on a true story.
Absolutely.
And for me, I would say the inspiration that I received just watching one man stay true to himself
Yep.
against physical abuse, mortal danger, and not only part of him being true to himself was helping others.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful example of courage. And I know that for myself being transgender and a trans man, I understand being true to myself and some of the courage that's required on a daily basis to be true to myself. And that comes from me when I have to correct someone that's misgenders me as a woman.
Or when your family just shuns
Oh,
you.
yeah. When my
Yeah.
family considers me a lost soul or whatever the latest word of the day is.
Yeah.
And you just stand in yourself no matter what, no matter who thinks you should be different. When you stand in the truth of yourself, just like the main character in Hacksaw Ridge, beautiful, beautiful. And we're all here to do that. We're all here to love ourselves at that level.
Yep.
Where we stand up for ourselves and our beliefs and our values and what we stand for.
So I was reading an article on a scientific study on why people watch certain movies. And this is something I'd like to share. And this is where we got the exercise.
I'm glad you're sharing this.
Actually, we share it with all of our clients because a lot of people feel like they shouldn't be watching TV or they shouldn't be watching certain shows. And what I learned from this study, and the study, it's accurate. I can feel it in my bones when I read it because it just made so much sense. But It talks about how people will watch certain types of movie and they will associate themselves with a character in the movie. And it creates a cathartic healing experience because you go from point A to point Z in the frame of a movie, and it opens your mind to creating resolution in life.
Totally.
Isn't that awesome?
It's beautiful.
Like,
and
I
understanding
just
yourself
loved that.
understanding yourself at a much deeper level.
Now, what's really interesting is if you watch a show and you relate to the
killer, the murderer.
The killer. I was thinking of another word.
Oh.
But the negative character, the one that is causing the trouble, which I can promise you, if you will do this exercise, you will find sometimes that you do relate to the person that is the negative person in the story or something else. And then, ask yourself why. Why do I relate to this person? And what did I get out of this movie? This is why we watch movies, but we don't think too much about it. We think it's just entertainment. It really is our brain wrapping around resolution for life situations. So it's awesome.
And understanding yourself more deeply.
Absolutely.
I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah. I love to read stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, you do.
Like that.
You do.
So should we get into the nitty gritty?
Yeah. Today we're talking about how good relationships create healthy, happy lives. And I was watching a TEDx talk by Robert Waldinger. And first, as a side note, I just got the second callback for TEDx Salt Lake City.
Yes.
That I have an intention that I will be speaking this September.
Yes.
Here in Salt Lake City for a TEDx talk. But side note, that's a side note. Robert Waldinger, he did a TEDx talk and he asked a question. And the question is this, and I'd like you to ask yourself this question. If you were going to invest in your future best self, where would you put your time and energy? So what's most important to you, right? Like if you were going to really invest, what about you? Think about that for a minute. Even if you need to pause this and answer that question, do it.
Ask me the question again.
Okay. If you're going to invest in your future best self, where would you put your time and your energy?
Right where it's at.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job. Well, when millennials were asked the same question, what their major life goals were, 80% said getting rich and 50% said being famous.
Really?
Yep.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Yep. Rich and famous.
Rich and famous.
She's breaking into songs.
Oh, I love it.
Soon it will be danced. So Dr. Waldinger, continuing on, he is one of the current directors of a Harvard study of adult development. And they've been tracking the lives of 724 men from the time they were teenagers all the way into old age. Every 2 years, they go in and interview these men. And it's been going on for 75 years, and about 60 of the men are still alive. So
that's
quite a few have passed.
Amazing. That's a long
study. It's a long study. I think there have been 5 different directors of this study, and it's quite phenomenal that the study continues on. And I know it started with men, but it has now expanded into women, and including their wives. And,
perfect.
And he said, we asked the women if they'd be willing to also participate in the study. And they said, well, it's about time, dipshit.
Right.
Right. Come on. Anyway, so
no, we don't have a voice.
No, So anyway, the study goes into their work life, their home life, their quality of life, wanting to identify what was keeping them healthy and happy, and if they were healthy and happy. And there were 2 groups in this study. One of the group started when the men were sophomores at Harvard, and many of which graduated and served in World War II. And the second group were from Boston, coming out of some of the poorest parts of that city. So out of the tenements, and many of them without hot or cold running water.
Right.
So there was a very big disparity in the 2 groups. And, they did that on purpose. And the study directors, they'd go into the homes, they'd interview the boys and their parents. And then they noticed that over time that these teenagers grew up into all walks of life. And it really wasn't determined by if they came from the poor or the rich or this, going Harvard class men. And some of them became factory workers, some bricklayers, lawyers, doctors. One of them became the president of the United States. Isn't that so cool? Some developed alcoholism. Some climbed the social ladder from the bottom all the way to the top. Some went from the top all the way to the bottom. So just like all of us, there was a whole lot of life that was being lived.
Absolutely.
So as they continued on the study, they discovered some very big lessons. In fact, there were 3 main discoveries that were made. And the first discovery was that social connections are good for us and loneliness kills. Wow.
Okay, say it again.
Okay,
it's so
the
powerful.
first big lesson is that social connections are good for us and loneliness kills. So essentially the premise of this entire study, his TEDx talk, his idea worth sharing, is based around good relationships keep us happier and healthier. And then he goes in and explains it from the study, what they learned. So social connections are good for us and loneliness kills. People that are more socially connected to family, friends, community are happier, physically healthier, and live longer than people who are less well connected.
That's amazing.
And loneliness ends up being very toxic, and people that feel disconnected and alone are less healthy, less happy, and their health declines earlier in middle age.
And their brain function declines, right?
It declines sooner and they live shorter lives.
That is amazing.
It's a really big deal. And this is such a big deal because, and one thing he mentioned, 1 in 5 Americans report feeling very lonely. And
Yeah,
I think
it's more. I think it's more.
do too. I do too.
Because sometimes you can feel completely alone in the midst of lots of people.
I know.
It happens
It
a lot.
really does. So that first big aha was about social connections, good relationships.
Right.
And that it wasn't their cholesterols that were killing people earlier. It was actually their lack of connection.
Yep.
Pretty wild. Relationship is such an important beast.
Everybody wants to be in a good relationship, whether it's romantic, family, friendship. It just feels good to connect with. We are social creatures on a spiritual level speaking. And I'll just say this as a spiritual teacher, we just crave connection to people that we can relate to, people that we can love, people that we can have experiences with where there's giving and receiving and all those delicious things.
Yeah, we're going to go in depth into maintaining healthy relationships as we get through these 3 points. The second point was that it's the quality of those relationships, not the quantity that matters. So if you feel like, oh my God, I've got to rush out right now and make hundreds of friends so I can be healthy and
don't overdo
happy
it, folks.
and that my brain doesn't deteriorate. No, it's quality. It really came down to the quality, not the quantity. In fact, people that were living in high conflict relationships had much, much worse health. And it was even worse than having no relationship than no relationship at all.
That's pretty interesting.
I know. So staying in the long-term negative, heavy relationships mean that it's toxic, and living in good, warm relationships is very, very protective, which is an amazing thing when you stop and think about how it's directly linked to our brain function, to our physical health, to our happiness, and our longevity. Our relationships are linked to those things. So good relationships, literally, you can realize that good relationships protect us from the arrows and the slings of life, of old age, and those things that are going to come in. And it's important to understand when we say good relationship, that means that there is someone there that has your back.
Absolutely.
That you know that when you hit the rough patches, they are there for you.
They care.
They care.
Yes.
Yep. Absolutely. And then the third main thing that was discovered is that brain power. So your ability to remember, there was less, it's actually protective. So people in good relationships in their 80s, their brain power was protected.
That's what I want.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I want that powerful mind that just keeps creating because it's still alert. Something I loved about my grandmother is until she passed, she was as sharp as a tack.
Isn't it brilliant? And did she have connective relationships or what?
Yes, because all of her grandchildren think that they are the most important, her favorite grandchild. And the truth is, I was. I was.
That's what every one of you says. It's so fascinating. I love that she created that with all of you.
She really loved all of her
and she
people.
did. You were her most favorite. All of you. You know what I mean?
No, I was the most favorite.
No,
I'm just kidding. But yeah, she was an amazing person, and she had 10 children.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And there was a lot, relationships, there's a lot of work that happens in relationships. And
are they perfect?
No. In fact, he was talking about how, sure, some of these people in their 80s, when they were with their person, they would bicker like crazy and go back and forth. But at the end of the day, they knew that that person was there for them, that they loved them and had their back. And that was what gave them more brain health, more physical health. And he also noticed that with their physical, those that were dealing with pain in their bodies, that if they were in close connective relationship with another person or persons, that their pain, they can manage their pain so much easier.
I just think that's so amazing.
It's beautiful.
I loved that you read this. And
I loved listening to
a lot of this I'm hearing for the first time right now. So I really appreciate it.
It's very, very amazing to realize that it obviously is not the fame or the wealth, because many of these people had fame, had wealth, but what gave them the healthy, happy life was actually the relationship and the connection, the human connection, with another person. And how beautiful is it that that's the way it is?
I just feel so grateful to have so many amazing connections with people.
Deep, delicious,
and our relationship.
Our relationship. And does our relationship come without conflict? Hell no.
Yes, it does. What are you talking about?
Don't you lie. We work through conflict.
Are you calling me a liar? Should we get in a fight right now?
I think we should. No, I just think it's a really beautiful thing. Our relationship is very connected, and we've worked very long and ongoing on our relationship, and we continue to do that. And we also work with clients and teach them and work with them to clear their own limitations that get in the way and cause pain in their relationship.
Absolutely.
Because it really comes down to what you're believing about yourself.
It does.
That's causing you the most problem.
Right.
And it's probably what you're believing about yourself that keeps you disconnected from having close relationships.
100%. 100%.
So the main takeaway from this TEDx talk is that the good life is built by good relationships. And that's what we all want. So now let's move into relationship. Let's go in depth and
let's
talk
get in
about
the dirt, baby.
Relationships and what the components to having meaningful relationships.
And there are 3 key components to meaningful relationships. So number 1 is to really identify what you want in a relationship. I mean, every time you hear us talk, the first thing is like, okay, what do you want?
We say that
all the time
because it's the first step to every goddamn thing you do. Goddamn thing you do in your life.
You really have to pay attention to what it is that you want. I cannot stress this enough. And so many people are lost in trying to figure out what other people want so they can keep other people happy. And I'm just saying right now, just set that aside for a minute. Just set it aside.
You're saying that so gently.
Well,
she doesn't say it that gently when she's talking to me about it.
Oh, honey, we don't ever have to discuss it because you know what you want.
Yes, I do. Yes,
but
I do.
I understand that so many of us are lost in the ideas of keeping our parents or our siblings or our spouses or our children or our boss or our peers happy. But that's never going to bring happiness into your life. So you really have to pay attention. What kind of relationship do you want? What do you want? Okay. And what we have found with all of the people that we've worked with over the years is everyone's looking for a deep connective experience. And having a deep connective relationship is relative. It means something different to everyone. So we're not going to say, okay, a deep relationship or a deep connective relationship looks like this. No, you have to decide, what does that look like for you? And there are different types of relationships that are the most common are your romantic relationship, your friendship relationship, and your family relationships, right? What would you like? Like, what do you want more connection in?
Maybe you're not in a romantic relationship, or the one you're in sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking for something different, or you're looking for improvement in that one. Or maybe you want to be closer with, maybe you want a friend. That's something that I've had an intention of finding a great man to be connected to, like just that we can shoot the shit. And it's just someone that I know kind of has my back and I have his.
Yeah.
In the way of friendship.
Yeah.
So.
And you have a lot of really great men friends.
Yeah, I do. But I can see that there's room in my life for maybe something a little bit more just on the level of friendship. That's my main focus is Tiff and our kids. No question about it. And you maintain a lot of our close friendships with people, but I do feel I'm having that internal call to just maybe there's more for a friend.
Yeah.
Especially just masculine male friendship for me.
I'm just thinking of relationships. For me, I have a pretty good base of friendships. My kind of friendship and relationship that's important to me is, of course, number one is the relationship I have with myself, being, really solid in who I am and my connection to source energy. And then, of course, with my spouse.
That's the foundation with
it really is.
Every relationship. You have to have a connection with source energy between you and that place where you have that center knowingness of your goodness.
Right.
Inherent in you, and that you have a higher power or something working in your behalf.
And then, of course, there's the family relationship, which we have a really solid one. And we have a lot of children. And there is relationships continually being built there, like stronger connection, more. So, I'm always working on that. And I have many, many friends. And I have a couple of really, really close friends that I talk to on a daily basis. So I feel pretty settled in it. And it really enriches my life. I know that there are people in my life that are solid. Like, we've got that connection.
And I think it's important in this first component of meaningful relationships is to talk a little bit about what we want. Today at the dinner table or breakfast brunch table for Mother's Day, I was talking to the kids and just telling them how much I love them, and also talking about Tiff and how grateful I am for what she creates with each one of our kids and how her relationship with them is different than my relationship with them.
Yes.
And that it feels so deeply meaningful to me to have that softer feminine side for my kids, because essentially the kids I gave birth to were raised by two men, so to speak.
That's true.
Because I was married to a man
for
those years.
There's no so to speak about it.
Yeah.
It is
so
what
they
it
had
was.
two very masculine energies raising them. And it was funny because even when I brought that up today, you could see our oldest. She was like, yep, that was fucking weird.
Yeah, that's what she said. She did say that.
Yeah, I just love our kids. They're so awesome. But Tiff has a different relationship, and we both have very close relationships. And this is why we say your relationships very well could look different than ours. So we're just laying out and sharing with you our experience and opening it up so you can really tap into what it is.
Yeah, and we're always
like you tell, like how you maintain the kids. She's in contact. She's talking to
every
them.
day.
If they're having a struggle, they reach out to Tiff.
And I can usually feel when they're struggling, and I will send a message. I'm like, "How are you, honey?"
Yeah.
And I was check in with the kids, and it's just part of my daily life.
Right. And I would say I'm there as a very strong voice of reason.
Yes.
I am a support. Sometimes when one of them needs some really good clarity about something or to work through something in their mind, I can talk them through it from point A to point B.
Yeah.
They know that I would go to bat for them any day of the week, no matter what, that I have their back, that I am here. I will defend them. I will love them, and I will reprimand them if needed.
Right.
So, we both have very different relationships, and we're very, very close, equally as close.
Just in a different way. And our relationship, we are always having new thoughts of desire, what we want to create with it
all the time.
And we work with that. And then our family really does extend to our kids mostly. And then, of course, friendships and, what we want with that. And sometimes people want more than you can give. And sometimes you may want more than someone is willing to give. So this is just how you get in touch with what you want.
Right. And just because, let's talk a little bit about families. So at this point in life, when you hit your mid 40s, early 50s, early 40s, late 30s, whatever, that sometimes family of origin may take on a little new meaning or difference based on, you know, if you've come out of the closet or you've left your religion that you were raised in, or maybe you're living in a way that doesn't reflect the culture of your family. You may have been ostracized or pushed aside, or, you know, there's some walls up between the two of you. Family takes on new definition.
It sure does.
And, you know, family can be anything. And you get to
decide.
That. And you also don't have to stay in toxic relationships when you're in a relationship where you're not being loved and cherished and celebrated for who you are. If it doesn't feel good to you, do some soul searching on that.
Right.
And do what feels best to you.
Right. Absolutely. So number 2, component of meaningful relationships, learn how to be vulnerable. And vulnerability, man, can just be really tricky, because it's like you open your heart, and what vulnerability really means is that you are willing to be seen, warts and all. Yeah. So have you ever met a guarded person?
Yeah, I was a guarded person.
You
for
sure
a very,
were. You
very
were.
long time.
You really were.
I didn't recognize it about myself, but I sure see it now.
I remember when right after we first met, I could see that I just could feel a connection to you so strong. I remember walking up to you after a meeting that we were sitting in together, and I just said, you know, if you ever want to just chat or talk or anything, I would love to. And you're like, okay, thanks.
Yeah, with the smile on my face and in my head, I'm like, I'm never fucking doing that.
Yeah.
But I didn't really say it that way.
Yeah, you did.
I just felt the inner conflict of like, oh no, kind of the fear of being seen.
Yeah.
Honestly.
And I'm like, oh, listen here,
being
mister.
Vulnerable,
I am not only going to see you, I'm going to slay you.
Nice.
And I got you, didn't I?
No, I got you.
Oh, you got me?
So get over it.
Oh, you are on one. Maybe you shouldn't have had that wine.
Oh, brother. Whatever.
Okay, so when we're talking about, okay, we're going to stop being silly and just talk about guarded people. People are guarded for a reason. And that means that they've had experiences in life that have hurt them. And so they have shut down their vulnerability, power, and they have closed it off, and they don't let people in. And this is such a problem. This prevents you from connecting in relationships and creates the issue of loneliness. That's the people that can be in a group of people that are open and feel totally alone.
Yep. This is so important to talk about. It is.
It is.
So important. So if you're feeling alone, these are some things to look at. Are you guarded? Do you have walls up?
Yes.
Are you willing to let people in?
Yeah, and how do you become
Are you willing to
vulnerable?
show your messiness?
It's just making the decision to be seen.
It is.
In all of your glory.
Yep.
And you really sometimes you just have to let go and allow someone to see your imperfection, because we are all perfectly imperfect.
Yep.
Like there is no just doing things the perfect way for everyone. That's impossible. And what you'll find is if you allow people to see your vulnerability, people will find you to be quite endearing.
Your quirks will show. You'll be talking about chips and punch.
Oh, brother. That is just so
it's
funny.
Quirky. It's just
it's cute.
It's one of your quirky parts. Like that could be something that I could be embarrassed about, or, oh, I'm so stupid when it comes to this. Bullshit. It's just one of those hilarious things about someone that grew up in southeastern Idaho in a town of 134 people and never watched TV ever. I mean, maybe we saw Gilligan's Island. Maybe, if we were lucky.
Yeah,
because we got the channel.
And you loved Ginger.
I did love Ginger in her sexy prom wear.
That is the funniest thing I
know.
Heard.
Who did you identify with on Gilligan's Island?
Ginger, absolutely.
I was the professor.
I believe that is true. Yeah. And they liked each other, didn't they?
I don't remember. They had to have. Okay, so the part of being vulnerable, now we're going to talk about, you have to be willing. You can't only be a giver, or only be a receiver. You have to be in the give and the receiving and the giving, and in the flow of that, have a healthy relationship that feels a meaningful relationship.
Yes. So giving and receiving is really important. I'm sure many of you realize this. I would love to share with you some words from Deepak Chopra about giving and receiving.
He's one of our favorite boys.
Oh boy, is
He's
he.
amazing.
Love him.
Yeah.
So he says the intention behind our giving and receiving is the most important thing. So the intention behind giving and receiving is the most important thing. When the act of giving is joyful, when it is unconditional and from the heart, there is an energy behind this giving that increases many times over. But if we are doing things grudgingly, there's no energy behind the giving. And if we feel that we have lost something through the act of giving, then the gift is truly not given and will not cause increase.
Very important.
So, and when I say increase, Deepak's talking about money increase, but I want to add this into relationship, because when you get into a relationship, if you're giving to your person so that you can get something back from them, you're not into alignment. You can give something to them out of joy, and you can give something to them with the intention of unconditional love and just that yummy feeling of giving to someone that you love. What you will find is you will begin to receive from that person as well. Now, I want to make this clear again. It is the intention that is the most important part, because if you're giving out of duty, or like, oh, I need to get something in return, or if I don't do this, I'm not going to get what I need, then you're more than likely not going to get the things that you need from the relationship. But if you use your intention with joy and unconditional love and just that happiness of giving to someone that you love, you will find that that person will reciprocate, and you'll be in a giving and receiving relationship. He also said the law of giving and receiving is simple. If you want love, learn to give love. If you want attention and appreciation, learn to give attention and appreciation. If you want material affluence, help others to become materially affluent. So it's like whatever it is that you want in life, learn how to give that authentically with joy and love, and you will find in all relationships of your life, it will come right back to you. And I just loved that.
We have a client that is the most, we have a lot of clients that are this way, but there is one in particular that is so amazing at giving and receiving.
Oh my gosh.
It is a beautiful, she is the epitome of what you're talking about.
That's true.
Just a lovely human.
Oh,
lovely human.
Yeah. Every time I think about this person,
she is,
it's just such a loving,
beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's just beautiful. So this giving and receiving thing is just so delicious. And I want to add a few more words from Deepak. The best experience, or the best way to experience the law of giving and receiving, is to gift to everyone that you come in contact with. It doesn't mean that you have to gift them with material things. You could gift them with caring, affection,
a smile, open the door, pick something up if they drop it,
love. These are some of the most precious gifts that you can give people, is to just smile at them and ask how they're doing. Just be loving and
look
kind.
in the eyes of the person that's checking you out at the grocery store.
Yes.
And say hello, or how's your day, and really mean it, and listen.
Yeah. And those things don't cost anything. And when you meet someone, silently send them a blessing.
I love this. I do this.
Yes. As you give, you will receive.
Absolutely. It's beautiful.
And just remember, the intention that you're giving from is what brings everything back to you. And so I just loved that.
I do too. And this is a component to a healthy relationship. It
Absolutely.
It's so important. Blessing that person, loving that person, giving, receiving.
I can say,
a joyful way to be.
Between you and I, we really give and receive from each other all the time.
We do. And we do it very well.
Mm-hmm. And
it's joyful.
Here is something as well. Is when you do receive, really accept it with gratitude. If you receive with shame or embarrassment, or you feel like a burden, those kinds of things, they stop the flow of the giving and receiving motion. And I really just want to share with you, if you can become a really good receiver, Because most of us can be really good givers, right? We give and give
Yeah.
and give, but receiving is just as important as
Yes.
giving.
And when you're practicing using the law of attraction and manifesting, setting intentions, learning to receive from the universe,
Oh man.
learning to receive from another person allows you to open up bigger, to receive bigger things from the universe
Absolutely.
that you're setting intentions for.
I have become very good at receiving.
I know. So
I really
good
have.
at it.
And we kind of can chuckle about it, but I was always the type of person that's like, I really loved to give and do a lot of giving things, but receiving made me feel a little uncomfortable. And I've gotten so good at receiving. And I have to say,
yeah, you do.
There are so many people in our lives that gift me with amazing things,
it's so beautiful.
Love and
earrings and just beautiful things all the time.
And even like for Mother's Day today, my daughter and son-in-law got me this amazing drink dispenser thing that I can make.
And you got your bath salts that you're right in the middle of needing to bath every day.
Yes, I got my bath salts
and a necklace.
And 2 sons gave me this gorgeous necklace. I absolutely adore it. I put it on today.
Perfect.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
It matches her so perfect.
Yes, and I got a beautiful apron and some gorgeous plates and lots of beautiful flowers to plant out in our amazing yard. And I just am so full of gratitude and receiving. I just love to receive, and giving and receiving is just a joy in all relationships. So I really appreciate that about life.
Right. And then the very last part of this second, being vulnerable, is relationships work when you are free to be yourself. When you feel free to be yourself, those are the relationships that really work. Because the relationships where we feel like we have to put on a certain face or only say certain things or not say certain things, those relationships are not the healthy relationships that lead you to a happy, healthy life.
Right.
Those are not authentic.
Those are the pretend relationships.
Yeah,
where
they make you feel worse.
They do.
Not better. So pay attention to that too.
So the third key component to a meaningful relationship is to act on it, or in other words, have courage to move forward, to act on inspired action when moving into relationships. So the relationships that are the most important to you are the ones that you are willing to work through conflict.
Yeah, because there are many, many relationships in our lives that we're not willing to go to the level of getting resolution to conflict.
Absolutely.
But the most meaningful relationships, the only way to keep them growing and being healthy is to be willing to work through conflict that comes up in that relationship. And that's when this is a relationship that really matters to you, if you're willing to actually ask that other person or approach that other person and share something that may not be working for you.
Right.
And to be willing to work through the conflict and be vulnerable.
And do you want to talk on inspired action and what that
I would love
actually
to.
means?
Really what inspired action is, it's just a basic, when you set your intention, you're an active participant with the law of attraction, where you're consciously creating a life or relationship that you love. Maybe you'll set an intention. So, okay, for example, let's say that Tiff and I get in a little tiff. For lack of a better word. We get in a little conflict or something's not going so well. And so I'll set the intention to have resolution and clarity with Tiff.
Right.
And then I surrender that. Now, remember, when you're setting your intention, all that means is you identify what it is you want. And then you you surrender it. So you're letting go of how it's going to happen.
You just know that the universe is going to bring
has
it
your
in.
back
Yeah.
and will assist you to have that. And then when you have a thought pop in your head, act on it. Like one of the days, I think I had the thought, I was out walking and past some lilacs, and I had a thought to cut a branch of lilacs and bring it to Tiff and just give it to her and tell her that I loved her. And that was just one step in the process of reaching resolution for whatever we were working through.
And I love lilacs.
And she does. Them. You do. So inspired action are just those thoughts or feelings that pop in, and they give you almost a delicious feeling, they wake you up and enliven you. Act on it quickly. Don't hesitate. It's that action that opens the door for you to have what it is you want. So
you know what I think is one of the greatest secrets I've learned in life is when I set my intention for something that I want, I always, always, always wait for inspired thoughts to come in to take
Yep.
inspired action.
You are the queen of this, literally.
And I can't even stress enough. It's
For
such
10
a
years,
simple
I've
thing.
watched you live this way. And
Yeah.
it's amazing.
It's like, I really want this in my life. And then what would be natural for most people is like, okay, this
I've
is
gotta
how I'm
figure
going
it
to
out.
create it. And I've got to learn how to do this and figure it out. And I just say, okay, universe, this is what I want. And I'm just going to wait for the next step. I want that inspired action. And every single time without fail, I get some sort of intuitive hit, some prompting, some knowledge given to me through some avenue. And I act on that. And let me tell you something, it works every time and makes life so easy. You can do this in your relationships. If you want a relationship that's delicious and you don't have one, set your intention for it and then wait for the inspired action prompt.
Yep.
And if you're in a relationship that you want to make it better, just say, I really want to make this relationship better. I want to do better in this relationship with myself. I need some inspired action prompting. And then
I have an
wait for
example.
it.
Yeah, a really good example of this is someone that we know that was looking for a meaningful, intimate relationship. And they created a little movie night group. I think they put it out on Facebook or something. That every Tuesday night, we're going to meet here for movies and we can go to dinner first and then go to the movie.
Yeah.
And actually met a partner. So these are the inspired actions. And this is why if you will take action, you'll manifest so much faster.
And the action we're talking about is
inspired. Yes. Inspiration. And then the last part of acting on it and having a meaningful relationship is to ask meaningful questions.
And
listen. Want to know.
So many people are listening so that they can think of what to say first.
Yeah.
Or what to say back.
Yeah.
They're not really paying attention. They're like, oh, what am I going to say to the next thing? It's like, stop doing that and just ask those questions, those meaningful questions. Like, what kinds of things do you like to do? Or, what is even just simple things like, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? Things like that. And really listen and capture those things. You will begin to build amazing connections. And so very, very few people ask questions.
You are such a question asker.
Well, here's the deal is I really want, if I'm talking to someone, I want to know about them. I want to know what they think. I want to know what they believe. I want to know what brings them joy, what they enjoy doing. I want to know because I think people are so amazing. And if we will take the time to really listen to what someone talks about and how they feel about things, you love them.
You do.
And we have such an amazing job because when people come into the Red Couch, we have very specific questions.
Yeah,
we get to hear a lot of stuff.
We do.
And you can make sense of why someone is the way that they are by the story that they tell you. And I just think that is priceless, honestly.
Okay. And an important part of this is being willing to share when someone asks you a question.
Because good point.
Right? Sometimes I literally had to learn how to engage in a conversation because I always found myself sitting back and just kind of listening and reflecting on what people were saying. But if someone asked me a question, I would just give a very short answer rather than sharing details because I carried a belief that said no one really wants to hear what I have to say. And once I did the clearing work all around that thought, now I can have such engaging conversation with the people that I love. Thank you, Jesus. What a relief.
Yeah, honestly, I really love to hear all the things you talk about, even though we've been together for so long.
There's always something new.
There is. And I just love hearing how you perceive the world.
I feel the same way. That's what makes a close connective friendship, relationship.
Are we friends?
We're friends and lovers and partners and companions and spouses.
Yes.
And sometimes enemies. No, I'm just kidding.
We are not. Don't be ridiculous.
Only if we're in the middle of a conflict.
We are never enemies.
No, that was another life.
That was another lie.
Okay, so the 3 components: identify what you want, be vulnerable, and act on it.
Yes.
Inspired action.
Yeah.
Now we're going to cover 4 steps to maintaining healthy relationships. They're very simple and very potent.
Yes.
So step number 1, be kind. It's a big deal.
Be kind. Be kind, genuine, and authentic.
Have you ever been in a relationship with someone that jokes around? They'll call you a bitch or this or
Yes.
that. Does it make you feel good?
Nope.
Not really.
So I had an interesting experience. I'm just going to share it. I had made friends with this woman, and every now and then we would get together for lunch. And she didn't really like that I didn't want to go to lunch every 2 weeks and just plan that out. And I'm not that kind of friend where I'm like, okay, what's our next meeting? When are we going to get together again? Because of my time and our business and the level of busyness, getting together with friends is not something that I do constantly, simply because Friday night is date night. We go out with friends usually on Saturday night, and Sunday is usually family time. And then the rest of the nights we're working, and that's just life. And so I've designed life the way I like it. And that means that I am not going out with friends constantly. So this friend didn't like it very much and would get a little passive aggressive and start kind of being funny and sending me texts, calling me a bitch and certain things, kind of in a funny way. And I got such an aversion feeling. And I just really stopped talking to her, and she didn't like that very much. And then about a year later, because she kept trying to get together, and I'm like, I don't really want to spend time with someone that is calling me names. And bitch was just one of the many things that just didn't really resonate with me. And eventually she asked me what was wrong, and I shared, this is where I'm at with it. And I was very direct and plain. She didn't like that very much. So she blocked me on Facebook and has nothing to do with me now, which is fine.
Okay. Yeah.
That doesn't hurt my feelings, but
so just remember.
Yeah, you have to get clear.
Harsh joking or calling names doesn't sustain a friendship.
Ever.
It doesn't build it. It doesn't expand it. You just pay attention.
Just be kind.
Yep.
Because
kindness goes
the
a long
harsh
way.
Joking doesn't work. And actually our son is the one that
he did.
We asked him the question today, how do you maintain a good relationship? And he's like, be kind and don't do the harsh joking. And this is something I have talked about for years. I really appreciated hearing that he has the wisdom of that at such a young age. I was very impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Good on you,
amazing
boys.
Kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2, apologize, because you're going to need to.
Yep.
We all do.
Make stupid mistakes.
We all do. We're human and we mess up.
And we're all oblivious to other people's stuff. We just
and this includes your relationships with your kids.
Absolutely.
It goes a long way. You don't have to be a perfect parent. You just have to be willing to own your shit.
Yeah.
And say, you know what? I acted poorly and I am sorry. Please forgive me.
Yeah.
And you do that with your friends. You do that with your companion, your spouse, your lover. Own your shit and apologize for it and move forward. Number 3, be willing to go deep. So just like I was saying earlier, if someone asks you a question, be willing to uncover some of yourself. Be willing to be vulnerable. Be willing to open up into that place of going deep.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you have to always be so serious. That's not what we're saying.
I love to have a good time, but man, do I love to go deep.
Yep.
I am a deep girl.
Yep.
I love to talk about things that really matter. And I love to laugh and just have a good time, which I guess is
takes us right into number 4.
Yeah.
Have fun together.
Yeah.
It's so important. Laugh, have fun, enjoy life, and find the relationship. You get to decide, just like we were saying, you get to decide what kind of relationship you want, and you can have it. Plain and simple, you can have it.
So let's go over those again. Be kind, genuine, authentic. Number 2, apologize when you need to. Number 3, be willing to go deep when appropriate. And number 4, have fun. That's how you maintain relationships. Like having a connected relationship, these 4 things will make you have the most amazing experience in your relationships, no matter who it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that a wrap? What a day.
That is a wrap.
What a beautiful day. Here we are at the end of Mother's Day, just basking in the glory of life. And thank you so much for being on our podcast with us, because without you, this wouldn't be a podcast. And we're so glad that you're here. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, do it. And you get a notification every time we release a new episode, which every week we're doing it. Come hell or high water. But if we're sick, it may have to wait a week.
And if you have any interest in coaching with us, which we would highly suggest, because
it's the best thing you'll ever do.
It is the best money
you
will ever spend.
You can clear the blocks that are getting in the way
of keeping
literally going to the depth of
yes.
your unconscious brain, clear it out, and be free to create more of what you want.
Yes. Yeah, so how do they contact
You just
us?
click the Coach with Us link and it will take you to a simple little application where you just fill in your information, watch a little video, submit it, and then you will be contacted by me to see if we're a good fit.
And you know what's so awesome is if you don't live in Salt Lake City, we do Skype. So
Yep.
we work with people all over the world, and it is brilliant.
It's
So,
our joy.
yes, we love it.
And we're so glad you're here. And we'll also put, if you have a question, reach out. We love to answer your questions and help you have a happy life, dump the overwhelm. Truly, life is meant
To be devoured.
every single day.
Yes. Hey, and also, we also love to hear your success stories. We love to share those as
I'm
well.
so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Share. You can reach us. We'll put a contact link.
So many messages from people that are creating amazing lives, and they love to share what they're creating. And we
love it. And we love to share it because then it supports you to create more of what you want. It gives us all momentum and traction. And share a podcast with your people. If we help you in some way, share away. It is our joy. Thank you for being here. We love you. This is episode 12. Good relationships create healthy, happy lives. Here's to a delicious life of amazing relationships. We're Tiff and Jack, and we will be back.